evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to another round of the RaceFace.Pro GT3 Sprint Series, and this is round number 7. My name is Stephen Koenig, and welcome to the beautiful site of Oulton Park, one of my favorite circuits, actually, and one that, in a different sim, I've actually done pretty well. Unfortunately, ACC definitely not done so well. But that being said, let's run through our championship quickly as Daniel de Villiers leads out the championship with Dean Norkier in second place, Johan Blicknote in third, Gerrit Bucas in fourth. Fifth place is Henry Platt, Rowan van der Walt, Herman Provical, along with Chris Collison. Brandon Kruger in 9th, 10th is Christoph Peterson, Rich van Eerde in 11th, Jason Farmer, Paul Venter, Tianus Buerta, Jean Verveers, Michael Donaldson, Brandon Santos, Conor Bergstrom running down 18th. 19th is Jeffrey LaRue and Macondo rounding out our top 20. That being said, we're going to be shooting down to the track for qualifying, which is underway. Darren Miller going and joining us in the comments. Always fantastic to see him out there in the virtual grandstand, going and supporting his drivers. And in pink, all the way through, is Daniel de Villiers, who's going and showing in some huge support. Out in first place, so Dean Norkier with a 132.6. Blicknote running in second place is going and charging his way through with a 132.820. Daniel de Villiers in third. Michael Donaldson runs in fourth. Paul Venter in fifth place, along with Gerry van Zyl, Chris Collison, Gerrit Bucas, Jeffrey LaRue, Jason Farmer, Henry Platt, Chris Biermeister, Brandon Santos, Tianus Buerta a little bit further down, along with Rowan van der Walt. Macondo down in 16th, 17th. Gideon Reyna, Brandon Kruger, Herman Provical, and Hansi Myberg just making it to the track. He had load shedding right the way through, and he's managing just to get on track as well. So great to see him out there. Great to see a number of our drivers looking in to put the top numbers. Now, I was out on the track a little bit earlier, and I've got to say, I'll leave the driving to the pros as, well, I was a hazard to myself and everyone else out there. So I'd like to instead just say my retirement from South African sim racing is definitely in the cards for a lot of the driving. So I'll leave it up to the pros out on track. Dean Norkier, though, leads out the pack, but Daniel de Villiers, 0.3 up on his personal best as he makes his way through, hard on the anchors. Now, this is a very technical circuit that is going to rely on the drivers to push themselves out a little bit more and see how they can get the drive through. So it's going to be a tough one out there for everyone to battle their way through. Ultimately, drivers are going to need to really lean on the power as they carry on. Daniel de Villiers comes across the line. And remember, he's fighting out for that championship. He's in second place. Dean Norkier, his teammate, holds first. 0.2 up on his personal best is Johan Blicknote in the Ford Mustang, going and trying to get a little bit more drive out of the car. Chris Collison for the Stingers Racing is currently running 0.3 up. Tianus Buerta currently 0.2 up on his personal best. Gerry van Zyl 0.1 up on his personal best. Gerrit Bucas 0.3 up on his personal best as they shoot down to the bottom lower section of Oulton Park. Don't run out too far wide, otherwise you will land up with track limits getting a hammering. Chris Biermeister trying to get a little bit more run as he comes through as well. So good to see a number of drivers fighting it out around the circuit that some enjoy, some don't. It depends on your fancy of what you prefer, and you get a lot of drivers hoping to push themselves out a little bit further here for the RaceFace.Pro GT3 Sprint Series. Now, like we've said, this is a round 7 out of 8. So this is second last round of the season. Maximum points to score. 0 drop rounds during the course of the season. So if you miss out a race, you miss out on points. Or if you have a bad race, well, you're going to have to make up for it down the line. And so many of these drivers now trying to just clinch some victory points to go and score big here tonight for the RaceFace GT3 Sprint Series. Ultimately going to come to a close. And we have to reiterate something we did mention at the beginning of the season, that this will be the last we see of the RaceFace.Pro ACC GT3 Sprint Series, as from next season, we're moving over to the likes of Le Mans Ultimate. So expect that to be happening. So the winners here will be the finals of that, as Gerry van Zyl puts himself up into third place and going and knocking down de Villiers. Brandon Kruger has himself in fourth place. Couple of VIPs jumping in. Ryan Barrington-Smith, one of our drivers, we'll see tomorrow night going and showing in a bit of support, along with Darren Miller. We'll see both the Porsche and the Aston Martin going out a little bit later, well, having it tomorrow. David van Veek coming and joining in, and Biggest and Baddest jumping in to say, how's it? Fantastic to see you guys. Absolutely great to see our top flight drivers making their way through. And I've got to tell you, getting overtaken on the outside by these incredible drivers through some of the corners, you think, don't think you're going to make it, but they've really proven me wrong a few times over in a short little practice session. As said, I think I'm gonna hand over the retirement of this. That's unfortunate, but the drivers that we've got, the pros to the pro-ams to the ams out there, are incredibly quick and well worth their salt here in the world of RaceFace.Pro. As we do see Blocknote runs out a bit wide, that's going to kill off his time, and unfortunately will not be able to get a qualifying time on the board. That being said, let's try and get some audio in. So if I may ask Tim, thank you very much, Tim, our cameraman, to give us all the shots. Provical making his way around in the Omnis Gaming Nitro, going and sporting a white color scheme instead of the usual gray. So he's going to be fighting it out and absolutely making up with time. A bit of news coming in. Ryan Barrington-Smith will not be available come tomorrow, so he won't be on, but he will be keeping an eye out on the stuff. Sad to see that you won't be there, but when a holiday calls, especially when you're getting in trouble. And we got Werner Skuman going and shouting out for the Pandas that are doing really well. I mean, Werner Skuman, that is up into third place. Kerry van Zyl in the Mustang for the Pandassi Apex, really improving his time. I know it's going to bring a smile to your face, considering the drivers are in there for an absolute cracker of a race. Brandon Kruger holds fourth. Daniel de Villiers, though, don't count him out in that Nissan GTR. 0.2 up on his personal best. And now looking to try and close it down. Dean Norkier looking to make a bit of an impact here tonight as he carries a bit of momentum through, heading towards the final sector of Alton Park. He's currently 0.2 up on his personal best. This will be enough to really go and put himself right up the order. In through the final corner, in through the short left hand, and away across the line. 132 into a 131.7, going and stomping a good distance between the drivers there for certain. Jeffrey LaRue, 0.4 up on his personal best. Oh, and as you talked to the McLaren, does exactly what I did in practice. See your tail. Unfortunately, not quite what he wants to have. Chris Beermister going and making his way through. He will come across the line, 0.1 up on his personal best. Is it going to be enough to jump him up through the order? No, but it is a bit more than his personal best. So 134, 0.70. So good to see drivers going and making their way through. Brandon Santos comes through. He puts himself up into 19th place, ahead of Hansi Myberg. Brandon Kruger lying in 6th, starting to feel the pressure, and it's going to be a mighty one. Kerry Bukes currently 0.1 up on his personal best. Blicknote going to be 0.1 up on his personal best. Gideon Rayner will be 0.1 up on his best. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, what we don't have here tonight is Tristan Herbst, who's generally one of the drivers out on the grid for the GT3 Sprint Series and our voice on a Thursday night with our Pro-Am division. We regret to inform, but in turn we do wish well, that Tristan Herbst will be hanging up the microphone for weekly racing here at RaceFace.Pro and will no longer be doing the Thursday ones. So we'll see him tomorrow, all going well, but unfortunately for the final round, he will not be on the microphone, and tomorrow will be his final broadcast in weekly racing here at RaceFace.Pro. So please, please, please let him know how you feel. He's been an absolutely incredible talent to the world of RaceFace, an incredible talent to commentary, and we will hear from him in special events and in all sorts of one-offs and constant, depending on where he goes. But on behalf of THT, on behalf of RaceFace.Pro and all the drivers out there, Tristan, we know you got no power at the moment, but thank you very much for your incredible service that you've done for this season, bringing us all the hot action as Henry Platt goes and increases his time at 133.4. I was feeling so good about my 147s. So definitely not quite what I wanted. But hey, Brandon Kruger up 0.2 up on his personal best. Tony Gamble saying Tristan will be missed. Well, you'll still hear him once in a while. It's just not on your weekly races. Brandon Kruger will put himself into 4th place as he tries to carry a bit of momentum through. Time starting to run out for a lot of our drivers. 1 minute and 16 seconds to go. Henry Platt currently 0.1 up on his personal best. Brandon Kruger up 0.3. And that seems to be the only 2 that are currently up on their times. Donaldson and De Villiers trying to find any bit of pace underneath them to just try and claw themselves back into that top 5 to find out with Kerry Van Zyl, Brandon Kruger, Gideon Renner, Johan Blicknote, and Dean Norkier, who has been on a rapid pace. So definitely going to be a good one. Dean Norkier, however, is going to be putting all his eggs into the basket for a Wednesday night, as Thursdays he is out for the next 2 rounds. And that will be costing him a fair amount. So he's looking to make a huge statement here tonight to say, well, I might be out of it, folks, but you got to come up to the level and fight it out. Brandon Kruger, 0.3 up on his personal best with that Mustang GT3. Can he carry the momentum through? A quick slide round, gets on the power, trying to turn the car in, absolutely trying to throw it in. Daniel De Villiers, 0.1 up on his personal best. Herman Povical, currently 0.1 on his best, and I think I killed him in practice. I do apologize, going and hurting that car. Jason Farmer is down in 14th. He's 0.2 up on his personal best, and Henry Platt going to be running up the pack on 0.3. So let's see if he'll be able to make out a bit of time as Brandon Kruger holds 3rd. Gideon Rayner in 4th. Blicknote, Kerry Van Zyl, Bukes, Daniel De Villiers, Herman Povical, Paul the Wall Fenter will be coming across the line. Has it been enough for him? Paul has been dealing with some massive stuttering on his sim, and it looks like it didn't phase him too much, running in 12th position here at Alton Park. So 2 drivers currently up on their time. Kerry Bukes from the Stinger Racing and Henry Platt of the Omnis Gaming in the Aston Martin. So it is the front engines. Do not count out Daniel De Villiers, who's just picked up a little bit of pace and now 0.1 up on his personal best. Really trying to get some little bit of drive out of the car, throwing it around, and will be coming up to the final 2 corners. It's going to be a bit of a wild one here. Long right-hander. He's shifting all the way down into 2nd gear. Carry momentum onto the power, into the left-hander. That does count for a corner, ironically enough. And you cross a line. Will it be enough? Jumps him up into 6th place. Fantastic stuff. Gareth Bucher is going to try and fight him out. Comes across the line, 0.1, and puts himself into 5th place. So some amazing drivers out there going and putting in some great times. But let's see how it's all going to work out for tonight's racing. And I can tell you the VIP grandstands are going absolutely wild. I see you guys out there. Absolutely great stuff. Welcome to Alton Park. Glad to see that the weather's holding out. We're not expecting any rain. Only a bit of cloud cover, but the track temperature is a bit cool with 17 degrees as we have 16 degrees air temperature. So just enough to keep you nice and comfortable for tonight's action here at RaceFace.Pro. For round 7 of 8 rounds of our RaceFace.Pro GT3 Sprint Series. And once again, absolutely tremendous to have you all and with everyone lined up for the action. Dean Norkier will lead out the pack, looking to fight it out. Now, we do have a couple of words coming from the likes of Darren Miller. This was a little bit earlier than going and giving a bit of a shout out. And let me pull up a message here. I'd like to say thank you very much to all the sim racers that partook by wearing pink. It was a bit of an ask, but it was fantastic to see so much support coming in for the cause. To all those that are fighting it out, that are dealing with the struggles, we're behind you. For those that are looking to keep moving forward, we are behind you. For those that feel that you've fallen down, we will lift you. Thank you very much to the entire sim racing community on all their support, and especially in times like these, supporting that cancer is a viable thing that is around, but it will not control our lives. Thank you. And that is from Darren Miller from PWSR, putting up some great words there. Thank you very much, Darren. Absolutely grand. And a big shout out to all our sim racers as well, going and joining in. And Darren Miller being the pioneering effort to go and have the pink cars that was then still being worn by our PWSR team. Absolutely fantastic to see a cause like that still being brought to the forefront. So shout out there to Miller and the family. We're fully behind you guys no matter what. Dinokia and Blichnote will go side by side heading into turn 1. Only one will be able to lead the pack when they come out. And let's see how it's going to work out. Brandon Kruger looking to close up on his teammate. Killian Rayner going to be a little bit further down, is around his teammates as well. Gerrit Bucas of the Stinger Racing will look to try and put up the fight, with Kerry van Zyl going to put a little bit of pressure on him for the Pandassi team. And the Pandassi team recently just announcing 2 new members to their entire organization. Henry Mayer and Fleming Bauer going and joining into the Pandassi team. So a little bit of an impact coming there, and I know that the drivers are going and making sure it's going to be a tough time for them. It's, well, you might be quick, you might be the newcomers here, but we're going to show you a bit of support. In turn, we're going to show you exactly how hard we can race, not to be taken too lightly. So, great to see the enthusiasm and support coming in for drivers in this effort, and we're going to be in a bit of a wild race, that is for sure, as we make our way on the formation lap to warm their tires a little bit more. And now it is time to go racing. So, for the RaceFace.Pro GT3 Sprint Series, round 7 out of 8, Dean Norkier leads out the pack with Brandon Kruger in second place. Johan Blichnote currently running in third, with Killian Rayner in fourth. Gerrit Bucas running in fifth. Looks to try and carry some momentum with him. Kerry van Zyl in 6th, Daniel de Villiers in 7th, Michael Donaldson in 8th, Herman Povikel running in 9th, 10th place is Ruben van der Walt, Tianus Buerta, Paul Venter, Chris Collison all the way out from the UK, Henry Platt running in 14th, Jason Farmer, followed by Jeffrey LaRue, Macondo a little bit further down in 17th, 18th is Chris Biermesser, along with Brandon Santos and Hansi Myberg, rounding out the pack here tonight. I mean, this is going to be an absolutely wild one, and it is stacked at the front. Got a Ferrari leading out 2 Mustangs of Brandon Kruger and Blichnote, who are going to work together to try and close down on Dean Norkier, seeing the threat at hand. Killian Rayner wants to hang on to the back, seeing how Ferrari managed to claw its way to the front. Gerrit Bucas in 5th place, along with the 6th place Kerry van Zyl. It does show that a lot of the front engine cars have a bit underneath them to push themselves forward. Daniel de Villiers, however, in one of the oldest of the cars out there on the track, Nissan GTR, but don't take it too lightly, is able to go over those curbs properly when it needs to. And when it comes to around about turn 4, turn 5, that's when you're going to have to really utilize that little bit of the bump, not to get too unsettled on the drive through. Ferraris on the other end, no, they're going to take a bit of a hit. So, as they make their way through, drivers will warm up their tires a little bit more. Brake drag will be utilized to try and generate heat into the brakes, which goes into the rim, into the cocks of the tire, going and causing that rubber to be melted, sticking itself to the surface to ensure that they can get the best entry and exit out turn 1. Nothing's worse than cold tires. Dean Norkier holds the inside line with Brandon Kruger in second place, ready to go. 45 minutes, no mandatory pit stops. Round 7, maximum points to score. Lights on, lights on, lights on, lights off, and away we go racing as Jeff signals by. Dean Norkier gets a run on Blichnote, who tries to go around the outside into turn 1. Not going to work out there, and closes down. Killian Rayner has a shot towards his teammate now. Looks on the inside. Now switching around to outside. Brandon Kruger along with Gerrit Bucas, as we do see Daniel de Villiers holding back here van Zyl. Michael Donaldson hanging on the back of him. Herman Povikel. Oh, that is Chris Collison off into the weeds. I think he had a little bit of contact with Ruben van der Walt as they went under the braking zone. He's managed to rejoin. Oh, that is our leader, Dean Norkier, into the wall. Outbraked himself, and now having to wait for the entirety of the field coming by. Killian Rayner will be smiling there, but Johan Blichnote, Killian Rayner, Brandon Kruger, Gerrit Bucas, and now Daniel de Villiers is going to be charging their way through. Not quite what we wanted to see from our leader. Oh, man, monster impact there from de Villiers. Number 93 having a bit of a contact. Let's quickly take a look and go to our helicam on this, as that looked like it's Gerrit Bucas just ahead of him. So Daniel de Villiers got the run in the slipstream, switched around, looks for the outside line, moves. Oh, there was a little move over and just a bit of that contact landed up with Bucas in the wall. De Villiers taking not too much damage there, but did throw him out of the race. So not ideal circumstances on the way through. As drivers continue on, soldiering at this point to keep themselves going. Macondo getting ahead as he does see Garrett Bucas pulling into the pits. Henry Platt will be coming on by. Paul Fenter hanging on the back of him. Paul Fenter tries out a little bit wide, doing whatever he can, looks for the inside, looks for the outside. He is contending with his mini-boss, going and telling him what to do. And after the many phone calls that does come around from his mini-boss, going and finding out what needs to be done. Brandon Kruger going around Gideon Reyna side by side as they fight it out for position. And two teammates looking to battle it out. Herman Povical, though, came off track. He's able to rejoin De Villiers, now trying to cycle his way through with Dean Norkia just ahead of him. The 111 making a very, very rare mistake heading into turn one. Let's actually quickly take a look at this, because he had the run going into the left-hander. Did he have the rear? Oh, the rear snapped out. And that was pretty much that. Became a passenger trying to slow the car down. A little bit of contact with the wall. Nothing too bad. But had to wait for the entirety of the field. So a rare mistake, but also cold tires does play a huge, huge role of what happened. Paul Fenter side by side with Henry Platt as they try and make their way through. And Paul Fenter up on the inside gets it done and dusted ahead of Henry Platt, taking that top 10 and continuing on his charge. So ultimately some great racing out there. Definitely some tough time as tires starting to come back to life. Gideon Reyna looking to keep the pressure on Brandon Kruger as they make their way through. Brandon Santos going in, taking a bit of Kenny the Cone as he lobs it off to the side, taking our Kane all the way to the main straight, handing it to the marshals there. Chris Biermister keeping the pressure on him with the likes of Chris Collison going and closing up. Chris getting a way better exit into turn one, a little bit side-by-side contact. The Stingers and the Pandacity going and nudging around, and unfortunately for the likes of Chris, he loses that little bit of time and immediately loses up more than one position as Daniel De Villiers is going to have a look at him, dives up on the inside, and that is pretty much that. Chris Collison going all the way down, the number 22, landing up with a few problems during the course of that run. So let's quickly take a quick look onto what happened. Different camera angle this time, as this was happening to Chris Collison. So comes out of turn one, all looking fine, very, very close. And there's a first set of contact, second bit of contact, onto the dirt, tries to bring the car to a slow, and losing out the drive on the way through. So definitely elbows out racing, a bit of DTM touring car sort of feel back in the 90s at this point. Paul Fenter going and finding out. Actually, no, GT3 racing is like this in all of it, so it's absolutely great to see the drivers giving it they all, but I think the elbows out racing does need to tone down a little bit. Otherwise, we may see a few more incidents starting to creep out on a few drivers. Brandon Santos losing out the drive, immediately has Dean Norkia, dives on the inside, gets the pass done and dusted, and a clean pass for him. Daniel De Villiers going after Chris Biermister, trying to see where he can get past the Pandacity team on the way through, with Chris Collison trying to make up some time after losing out a bit of drive. Oh, big sideways moment for De Villiers and the likes of Biermister, both hanging on for everything they know, and it's going to be a proper run on the way through. Oh, as it does look like Chris taking a little bit too much road there will be punished. That is for certain. You'll get a gentle tap on the shoulder 3 times from our stewards saying warning 1, warning 2, and warning 3 before you land up with drive-through penalties. And Jason Farmer, knowing that, is going to put the pressure on Ruan van der Walt and his teammate, Tianus Buerta, that are running in tow with one another. Just a bit of formation flying to ensure that they can try and break away from Jason Farmer of the Griffin Sim Racing team. Paul Fenter getting the pass done and dusted. Henry Platt having a little bit of a go with Jeffrey LaRue, who was off circuit. Macondo a little bit further down. Now going to get into the battle with Dean Norkia as he tries to make up some time through the corner. So Dean hopefully trying his best here to get the run on the order in the slipstream, pulling himself along. Going to go late on the anchors. See Macondo right ahead of him, trying to figure out where on earth can he get by. How on earth is he going to get by? What does he need to do to fight it out as Macondo, oh, misses his brake marker, managing to brake very, very late and ahead of LaRue and managed to make it stick. Well done, I gotta say. But LaRue loses out the drive, and now Dean Norkia going to go around the outside, second guessing it though, going to look for possibly an undercut just to try and maneuver his way through as they launch on by. So much going on during the course of this race, and we are seeing so many little battles right through the field. Wherever you look, there is something going on for all drivers to see, and gotta say, incredible stuff. As Dean Norkia looks for the inside on the left-hander that caught him out at the start of the race. Oh, that is Ron van der Walt, and unfortunately, Macondo picking the long way around as everyone keeps it nice and deep. So what on earth happened to the 99? He had Jason Farmer ahead behind him, Tianas Buerta ahead of him. So let's see where it all went wrong. Comes through the corner, all looking fine on the anchors. Farmer up on the inside. Oh, rear right contact. And then unfortunately going and turning him around. Well done to Ruben van der Walt though for going and holding his brakes. You saw the acceleration try and get going, seeing that the rest of the cars are coming through, immediately stood on the anchors to stop him from charging into the field. That would have been a catastrophic mistake, but utilizing wits, going and saying, no, not going to do that. I'm going to rather wait it out. Does hurt in terms of getting back on the track, but it's better than going and reporting some serious damage to the car. So as we keep an eye, this is Brandon Santos over Chris Biermeister as Dean Norkia getting a drive. Oh, Macondo getting a bit of rear contact from Chris Collison, and Chris going to continue up the road there. Macondo going and losing out, dropping down the order, just trying to turn the car around. Dean Norkia going side by side with Jeffrey LaRue, and LaRue having a good fight there. Dean Norkia hoping that he can try and power his way through and looking to really keep in tow. He's hoping to lay the ground for a top run. He needs to get back into that top 10, crucial to try and hold some points in the championship for the GT3 Sprint Series, considering how high up he's running. The Lacquer Rubber CEO now going and having a tough time behind Jeffrey LaRue, who is not backing out of this fight and will continue on his drive. Nose to tail they go, and Daniel de Villiers sitting in sights of his own teammate just ahead of him as they carry on the way through. So great to see drivers fighting it out, but how far can they go in this? Whether it's going to be keep it close or whether you got to let it go, it depends on what your favorite Disney track is at this point. And so far, Dean Norkia is playing every bit of music from Hunchback of Notre Dame. That is for certain, as Jeffrey LaRue trying to go on the little bit of a defense here will be playing a bit of set it off, I think, as he goes late on the anchors, trying to defend against Dean Norkia. He's done a brilliant job so far to hold him back, but for how long can this McLaren go as they head into turn one? And does look like Dean backs out of that fight. That is slowly allowing Daniel 1.3 seconds back. We can just see that Nissan GTR to close up a bit of ground as well. This is going to be a very tough battle. Oh, Dean Norkia, critical mistake. Bit too close, a bit of error wash, and off into the dirt. And I mean, is going to be a absolute run through. Drivers going and having a tough time out there, as Samir Bukes going and saying it's a little bit of a run. Going to be a proper race of note, with a few little caveats to come through. Johan Blacknote, Brandon Kruger, and Kilian Reyna currently running first, second, and third. Harry Van Sale runs in fourth. Michael Donaldson in fifth. Tianas Buerta along with Jason Farmer. Paul Fenter in 8th, 9th place. Henry Platt, Jeffrey LaRue a little bit further down. Daniel the Hitman de Villiers now chasing down LaRue. Dean Norkia recovering after his off track. He's got Chris Biermeister, Chris Collison getting the run over Brandon Santos as they get the power on the way through. I mean, this is going to be a proper chase down between the two of them. Ram van der Walt, Hansi Meyerberg, Herman Provigal, Macondo a little bit further down, and Jared Bukes. Now, the one thing about our GT3 sprint racing that does make it a little bit difficult compared to our usual Thursday night where we go racing. It lands up where you've got a mixture of Pro, Pro-Am, and Am all together racing. You get to see the differences in terms of pace, where they're picking up those little bits of half a second, 0.2 of a second, 0.1 of a second, and it is critical to try and keep going and figure out where the mistakes are going to be. On this circuit, it doesn't rely, this circuit does not favor if you fall off track. That is for certain. Very, very, very close to the grass can land to huge problems. Hunty Moenberg lifting and allowing Herman by, and just going and saying, Herman, you're a little bit quicker than me. I'm going to utilize you. Pull me a bit closer to Rem van der Walt. Gotta say, interesting tactics there as Brandon Kruger going and helping Blichtnote along. Very, very close formation flying for the Omnius Gaming KSR driver and the Omnius Gaming Johan Blichtnote, who is now leading the pack. Gideon Reyna going to have a look and see these two teammates are fighting up ahead. Does look like Kruger, though, is starting to get a little bit unsettled and wants to go and see how it's going to turn into. LaRue fighting out with Daniel de Villiers, as de Villiers hunting down LaRue at this point into the toe, trying to pull himself through. This is going to be a wild run for him. So Daniel de Villiers needs to utilize the toe to get past LaRue, open up the door and get going. Dean Norkier is going to keep the pressure on the back of him to ensure he can figure out how to get on by. And so the pressure comes down to what is LaRue going to do during the course of this race. Ultimately, going to be some tough times out there for a number of our drivers. Got to say, incredible, incredible stuff from everyone who is looking to stretch a gap. And we are not even too far into the race. 13 minutes of the race done so far. So many changes have happened due to off tracks, close runnings, and also drivers getting a little bit too uncertain. Well, Gideon Reyna getting uncertain on Brandon Kruger. Looks to try and get by and second guessed it. Brandon Kruger immediately late on the anchors as these three start to fight it out. Careful, boys. The team manager will be watching you guys very carefully, considering you've got all three team members, first, second, and third, with an opportunity to lock it out. But in a bit of a racy fashion, they are going to land up where it's going to be a proper chase. I mean, it is going to be a huge run nonetheless, and drivers are going to have to fight them out. Drivers hoping to really keep on the run as Reyna trying to look around the outside of Brandon Kruger. And it's going to be a monstrous run. Jeffrey LaRue and Daniel de Villiers hoping to get their run and see where it's going to go. Late on the anchors, couldn't quite get it done and dusted. And now LaRue looks to keep on the chase. And we got Ahmed going and chatting in the virtual grandstands. Fantastic to see. Not so fantastic not to see you out on track, but you know, obviously a bit of a reasoning for that one. Oh, de Villiers gets a tank slapper though. Nearly loses in front of his teammate, and that was a quick switch around as Dean Norkier now has the opportunity to go after LaRue yet again. And big tank slapper there. What a save. And how closely these three were running doesn't make it any easier. As we see Chris Carlson with Chris Beermister just behind them. They waiting for the perfect opportunity. LaRue is in a bit of a nightmare of a situation where he's got two teammates that are looking left and right at him and just needing to fight it out nonetheless. So ultimately, drivers are going to be in the race and trying to make their way through. And this is going to be a proper run as we do see the guys finding out. Jason Farmer up against Tianis Buerta, and Tianis Buerta losing out that little bit of drive and seeing where it can go. Jason Farmer not backing down, and it is going to be a proper tank slapper for Jason Farmer, who got it all together. Unfortunately, couldn't quite work out. Paul Fenter gets the drive and now makes their way through. So a couple of drivers having to really work their way through the order and see where it's going to go. Dean Norkier will look to try and get that drive a little bit closer heading into turn one. Now needing to get a little bit of elbows out racing here. Jeffrey LaRue center of the circuit, trying to keep the defense. Dean Norkier backing out of it, and they will be continuing on that little bit of a drive, going over the curbs. And this is going to be a proper run on the way through. As we do see Dean Nokia running in 11th position. LaRue running in that top 10. He wants to hold it as long as he can. Brandon Santos and Ruben van der Walt. Another little battle happening out there as Kerry van Zyl. Oh, down the way he goes. The Pandacity team member going and outbraking himself. He's able to get the Mustang up and going, but definitely foraging there to try and keep himself sorted on the way through. So a tough time out there for Kerry van Zyl. Oh, as Brandon Santos runs out wide. Now has the likes of Ruben van der Walt shoulder to shoulder, fighting it out, nose to tail, and on the way for the pass, and he gets it done and dusted. Ruben van der Walt, whoo, boy, gets that pass on Brandon Santos and continues on to fight it out on the way through. I mean, this is going to be a proper through and through race. Dean Nokia keeps the pressure on the likes of LaRue, and I've got to give it up to LaRue. Been soaking up the pressure put on by both PWSR drivers, and he's ensuring to keep the car firmly planted in the middle of the circuit. That is starting to frustrate the drivers, as we do see likes of Dean Nokia late on the anchors trying to get it done and dusted. But where is that compromise he's driving? You can see a little bit squirrely on the throttle as we do take a look from the back of his car. This is Daniel de Villiers who's taking a look at Dean Nokia, giving him a bit of room, trying to help coach him through on this part, as he's also fighting to keep the vehicle in bay and keep it on the road at this point. We go on the rear spoiler of LaRue, who is just continuing on the drive. He's got the two teammates surrounding him the whole way through, and LaRue needing to just try and keep it all together. Now into the long left-hander, a quick lift, a downshift, and you go for it. Then hard onto the anchors, into the hairpin, and this is where you can make up a lot of time if you don't run out too wide. And Dean Nokia trying to go for the undercut, unfortunately not getting the best drive out of it. Will lose out that little bit of time. He's constantly searching, hunting, trying to figure out where can he go, where can he get the momentum, leaping over the curbs, and that Stallion is not going and holding back at this point on the way through. Immediately, that's costing him a bit of time. A quick left, right, left, right, left, right, and he did that right in front of de Villiers, who's trying to get on by, and compromised him there. That, unfortunately, I think went and fouled him up at this point. With Daniel de Villiers, another quick left, right from Dean Nokia. Now, I think he's so focused onto LaRue ahead of him, he's not realizing that Daniel is constantly on the back of him. So this is going to be a big one for them. And just ahead, we got Jason Farmer onto the back of Henry Platt as well. So we got another little fight going and informing. Jan Blichnout has got Brandon Kruger back on him. So this is going to be a proper run on the way through. Drivers needing to try and get going and try and figure out what do they need to do to score those points needed for the championship. So crucial on the run through, as you see Jason Farmer onto the back of Henry Platt, trying to run that Aston Martin as far out as possible and really go and do a phenomenal chance at this point on his drive. So great see. This is going to be a huge run. Jeffrey LaRue and Dean Nokia going to be fighting it out, as we do see Dean Nokia and Daniel de Villiers to fight their way through. And de Villiers, Dean Nokia right onto the pack of LaRue. Going to be a wonderful time for him. LaRue going to hold the inside line. He's now back to center, left and right. He's got the double pink on him. This is going to hurt, and it is going to be side by side even for the teammates, as Daniel de Villiers, no other option but to just slot in front of Dean Nokia, beautifully getting it done, but must have been frustrating, as we do see Brandon Kruger and Blichnout going and swapping out positions into turn one. Oh, Blichnout runs out a little bit wide there, not quite anticipating the braking maneuver of Brandon Kruger, and fouled him up. Full likes of Gideon Rayner to have another go at him. Daniel de Villiers now having the option to go back onto Jeffrey LaRue, and he's got his teammate hunting him down. Jason Farmer trying to keep up the pace on Henry Platt. So little battles forming all over the show. Teammate battles and ones that are out for it. So, I mean, this is going to be just one of those close racing. I've got to say, the track itself doesn't really lend itself to passing in GT3 cars. Ironically enough, if you're in a smaller car like a single-seater or some of the smaller sports cars like Radicals and that, there tends to be a lot more room to play with. But these big behemoths with mountains of power, unfortunately, make it a little bit harder to keep yourself in order. Keep an eye on Chris Collison, though. out in 13th, gaining a bit of time, seeing the fight ahead of him, and will continue to do so at this rate because they are chopping and changing each other so much to really continue on. Oh, Henry Platt, massive mistake on his part, outbraked himself. Jason Farmer waves and does the Queen's wave out the window as he launches on by to ensure that that Aston Martin will feel it. Daniel de Villiers aggressively looking for the inside line. Oh, and it looks like there may have been a mistake there for LaRue into the braking zone. Not going to be a great one for him. He's trying to cover, but those tires are definitely going to be feeling it. Let's quickly take a look from a helicam on board. Helicam, as we take a look. LaRue, center of the circuit, moves to the left-hand side. Under braking, though. Oh, the contact with Daniel de Villiers spinning him around. Unfortunately, very, very light contact between the two. And land up with LaRue down the order in that fight. That has promoted Chris Collison up, and he's closed the gap down, so he's going to be smiling ear to ear in that 1.5 seconds as Daniel de Villiers now leaving a little bit of room to Dean Norkia to open up his drive and continue through. So they're going to try and make their way around. Oh, Macondo having that snap oversteer from the Ferrari, coming out of the long right-hander and landing up in the wall. So definitely not going to be his fun one of note. So definitely a couple of drivers feeling that pressure and starting to feel it out on the way through. Ruan Fitterwalt and Chris Biermesser, they're doing a little bit of a switcheroo between them to continue on the drive and will be extending their gaps between one another. Chris Collison, Daniel de Villiers, Dean Norkia, Henry Platt, all going at one another. Gideon Reyna, Johan Blicknote, and Brandon Kruger keeping within one another as well as our drivers make their way through. Gotta say, I've seen some good racing here tonight, and I've also seen some racing that is hard and fierce, that is for certain, and being able to commentate for so many years in the world of sim racing, you get to see some great moments, you get to call some great moments, but you also get to see some moments where you'll leave you scratching your head. I won't lie. Looking at how the pros managing to slow these cars down have me absolutely foxed of how they managed to do it, and leaves me wondering, maybe, just maybe, I need a little bit more track time than mic time at this point, or to take up golf. Oh boy, I'm getting old. I'm now talking about golf. Well, here at Alton Park, there actually is a golf park just over turn 3 next to the lake over here. So if you continue further down the road, sorry, that's turn 5. You continue down, there is a golf range just down there. Fun story going years back where they managed to have one of the golf balls while there was a lot of racing happening out. It was a touring car at the time, the BTCC, and it landed up with someone playing golf. He launched the ball straight through the trees. It ricocheted off a couple, and it went through the front windscreen of one of the TCR cars back in, I would say, the late 90s, early 2000s. So, yeah, bit of fun facts there for the circuit. But if you do fall off and land into the river, I don't recommend it because there is a fair amount of crocodiles in there. It actually is a reserve. And Macondo going and getting a drive-through penalty for track limits exceeded, and that's just by running a little bit beyond the zebra stripes. And unfortunately will go and have a bit of a tough time out there. Gideon Reyna and Johan Blicknote fighting it out. Werner Skuman, the retired sim racer from ACC, going and saying, let's go and play a bit of golf. Yeah, we'll see. I'm better at throwing the ball than hitting it with a stick. That's for certain. Can tell you, not my forte, but can do some baking. Herman Pavlikol, on the other hand, going and gathering up some flowers for his baking, landing up with a snap oversteer into the dirt, and that's cost him a bit of time. Brandon Santos will be saying thank you very much on that one, as he now looks to try and fight his way through. Great to see. This is going to be a huge, huge drive on the way, as so many drivers need to continue on their drive. So this is going to be a wild one. 19 minutes to go, and drive through needing to be served by Macondo. Everyone else looking okay. Track limits were flirted by quite a number of drivers, but on this moment doesn't look like there's going to be too much. So ultimately going to be a proper run, as Henry Platt and Dean Norkia having a good go at one another. and the drivers will be fighting it out in tow. Dean Orkier looking at Henry Platt. Jason Farmer just ahead. The Griffin Sim Racing team is going to be watching the mirrors very carefully on this one, and will be seeing the like of the fight of the OG team versus the PWSR team on the way through. Do we bleed green? Do we show pink? Well, that seems to be a bit of both at the moment as a launch their way on. So Dean Orkier, closest fight as they go through. Hansi Myberg allowing Kurt Bukes to break on by, and like of Bukes is now continuing on his drive to keep his way up through the order. So good to see that Bukes is still pushing on despite all that has gone on that tumbled him down the order. Makondo, who's into pit lane, I'm sure will be serving his drive through. No, he has actually come to a stop, unfortunately. Oh, come on, Makondo, get that car back out. We want to see you drive out and get that penalty cleared. Dean Orkier trying to get onto the back of Henry Platt. That has cost him a bit of time, being in the dirty air and throwing him down the order. So this is going to be a monumental run. So let's see how the fight's going to go. Henry Platt hoping that he can stay onto the back of Jason Farmer, who stretches out the gap. And I do know that our Mauritian driver, who's usually comes in races here, Loke Randabel, unfortunately not in the race this evening, but sitting out on the Discord and chatting to his drivers, as Henry Platt, I think, got a little bit of an earful there for going and dirtying the car. Allows Dean Orkier and Daniel de Villiers. Here comes Chris Collison to have a go at him. The Stingers Racing Mustang trying to have a look. Couldn't quite get the pass done and dust. A little touch of dirt. And I do know Loke Randabel will be sitting, scratching his head and going, come on, Henry, that was just cleaned. And now you've gone and dirtied the car on the way through. I mean, come on. You got to pull out that cannon, Mr. Min. Spray it, bit of rag. There we go. If you're going to race, you need to clean the car first as well. And if you make it dirty, if you go and throw your toys on the ground, you're going to have to pick them up and put them back in the basket. So a bit of Mother Hubbard coming through from our drivers. Brandon Kruger, though, leads out the pack with Blick Note. And Gideon Reno, who set the fastest lap time of the race with a 32.910. Michael Donaldson running in fourth. Kerry Funzel in fifth. Tianas Buerta. Paul Fenter making up a bit of time to Tianas Buerta on the way through. The Honda, touch wood right now. Touching lots of wood. Everyone out there in the virtual grandstands, touch wood. Paul Fenter seems to be doing okay with the car and finally may have figured out a little nuance of the Honda NSX as he makes his way through, closing down on Tianas Buerta. This is going to be one of his better runs that he's had all season long, and I have been commentating from where he's seen across the waters and here locally. Jason Farmer has got Dean Orkier all over the back of him. Jason Farmer not too afraid to get into an elbow-to-elbow fight with the two as they go late into the braking zone. The Griffin Sim Racing team, Jason Farmer, looks to try and keep Dean Orkier at bay. Nice flow through, a little bit of a touch of the dirt that's unsettled the car, and now he has lost that drive. It's only about 1 to 2 kilometers, but it's 1 kilometer, a little bit more than he wanted. Dean Orkier hunting him down, looks for the inside line, trying to hunt for that apex, not able to get the drive. So this is going to be a huge run on the way through, and good to see drivers fighting their way through. It is going to be a number one as, Jason Farmer loses out that little bit of time. Quick flash of the lights here as Dean Orkier goes and gets himself on into 8th position at the moment. So this is going to be a one race to keep an eye out for. Now, Jason Farmer has got Daniel de Villiers for company. So he's split into the middle of the two PWSR cars and will now to figure out how he can get going. So definitely not the ideal run through, as we now 14.5 minutes left of this race for round 7, and maximum points need to be scored. Gideon Rana trying to close up the gap to his teammates ahead of him. Tianas Buerta trying to keep ahead of Paul Fenter, the logistical nightmare driver, trying to make his way around the circuit, and Paul really putting on the power, trying to close up that gap as much as he can. We're going to jump on board into the passenger seat of Paul Fenter in the Honda NSX as he chases down Tianas Buerta. You can see looking a little bit smooth on the steering wheel, taking a lot of curb on the exit. Oh, big snap. Huge snap on his part. Not going to be too happy with that one. as we do have a retiree. It looks like we may have lost Herman Povical. So Herman is now out of the race. I'm not quite sure what is going on there, and is out of the race. We've got the PWSR captain of Alan Patterson going and saying, how's it? And a bit of a tough race out there. Well, it was. Dean Nokia going and actually getting caught out with cold tires into turn 4, where he went and straight lined it a little bit, landed up in the dirt, but he's able to get going nonetheless. So always good to see the drivers trying to keep themselves going. Good to see that you guys are still wearing the pink though, and carrying it all season long. Run for the vault though, trying to get away from Jeffrey LaRue, who is trying to go and continue on his drive. Oh, Chris Collison will see Henry Platt, who got it all types of sideways, trying to make his way by. So Chris Collison late on the anchors, trying his best here, and going to be a proper run. And drivers will be looking to close up. Chris Collison and Henry Platt going and battling it out between one another. Henry hoping, he's trying to keep it all going, and just seeing where he can go in the race. So ultimately, lots and lots of drives happening out there, lots of moves being made. Chris Collison in the Mustang though will be feeling a lot of strain on those rear tires, with Henry Platt on the back of him. Daniel de Villiers onto the back of Jason Farmer. These two, long history between one another over the course of multiple seasons. Griffin Sim Racing trying to keep ahead of Daniel de Villiers. Room for the vault does land up with it off track though, and going in, clipping a bit of a dirt, as Daniel de Villiers looking to try and get that pass done and dusted. Oh, the Nissan GTR just going a little bit quicker into the corner, loses out a bit of drive to Jason Farmer, and right behind them we do see the battle of Henry Platt and Chris Collison. They're closing up on one another. Chris Collison looking for the outside line, going to do a bit of an undercut here on the back of Henry Platt. Can he get it done? But unfortunately, both facing that understeer, heading into turn 1 on the way through. So great driving from the drivers out there, but unfortunately, we're starting to see the crux of the circuit, where the tires are starting to have some huge drop-off on them, and grip becoming a little less to go and fight their way through. Gideon Reyna is now keeping the pressure on his teammate Johan Blicknote at the moment, as they continue on their drive for the top spots. Henry Platt has got Chris Collison having a go at him, and will need to figure out what he needs to do to try and get it done and dusted for the final round, well, the second last round of the season. This is round 7, and once again, this will be the last round 7 of ACC GT3 Sprint Series here. And unfortunately, we're going to be saying farewell, but fortunately, we're going to say welcome to a new category of Le Mans Ultimate that usually runs on Sunday, is moving to a Wednesday, confirmed by Bert Hugo. Daniel de Villiers gets past on Jason Farmer. Beautifully done between the two. Just a beautiful dance, a bit of a ballet on it on the way through, and that's what you need to do. Henry Platt has got Chris Collison putting the pressure on the back of him. Chris trying to see where he can get that little bit of momentum. Not able to get the drive on the way through. Oh, Henry going in, running out a little bit wide, bottoms the car out, and now we'll have to just deal with the likes of Chris Collison closing up. Oh, room for the vault, getting a drive-through penalty for track limits exceeded, and he will be looking to get it done and dusted. Goes into pit lane. The Pandacity driver going to take the pain on that one through, but it is starting to show 2 drive-throughs so far during the course of this race, with Macondo and Ruan van der Walt, with only one retiree being the likes of Herman Povical at this point. So definitely a tough time out there, and this is going to be a tough time. Daniel de Villiers running out a little bit wide. Jason Farmer closing up on the back of him. Claire Bukes all over the back of Brandon Santos, the Griffin Sim Racing, now trying to get their Mustang a little bit under grips, with less than 9 minutes and 30 seconds to go of this race, maximizing points. And so far, Dean Nokia, who started in first, fell off the track, landed towards the back end of the field, is up to 8th. He's trying to make up a fair amount of time. Most amount of gains, though, does lie a little bit further up the field. Tiernas Buerta and Paul Fenter both moving up 5 positions from where they started. Jason Farmer has moved up 5 positions. Major loss is actually Kerry Bukes, who started in 5th. He is now down in 17th position after that earlier contact and having to do a bit of work in the pits to get the car going. But got to take my hat off. The chap is still out there, still putting in a bit of fight and still driving as hard as he can. Not going to be throwing in the towel. Chris Carlson, his teammate, looking to carry the momentum through and keeps pressure on that Aston Martin on the way through. Chris going to have an opportunity here, not towards the likes of turn 1. He is going to put his nose in to just see if he can unsettle Henry Platt a little bit into turn 1. Couldn't quite get it all done and dusted. Immediately back into the toe as they continue on their drive. Runs out a little bit wide, 3rd gear, carrying the momentum through. Doesn't want to drop a wheel on the dirt too much there as they continue on their drive all the way through. So Chris Carlson having just enough drive to make his way around, as this Brandon Santos losing track of Kerry Bukes as well. So it's good to see that there is a little bit of movement happening around the circuit, especially into the dying stages of this race. We're still on board with Chris Carlson and Henry Platt as they try to maneuver their way through. Henry keeping up a solid defense at the moment, but for how long? Chris Carlson has got the slipstream. He lines himself up for the outside. Couldn't quite get it done and dusty. He's going to try go possibly for a cut back here. Let it snap around underneath him. Oh, a little bit too much. Unfortunately, that killed off the drive. And over the curb, that's gone completely taken out. One thing, you get a little bit too greedy with that curb, and it immediately snaps you out on the run through. So drivers are having to figure out what on earth have they've got underneath them to just get that little bit more of a drive on the way through. So Brandon Kruger, Bluchnotes, and Gideon Reyna holding 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Michael Donaldson in 4th. Kerry Van Zyl in 5th with Tinas Buerta. Paul Venter within a second of him, chasing down one of his better drives, I won't lie. He's aiming for that 6th, but he's going to have Dean Norkier hunting him down in 8th position. Daniel de Villiers in 9th. Jason Farmer currently lying in 10th. And we've got Henry Platt, Chris Collison, Jeffrey LaRue, Chris Biermester, Ruim van der Walt, Kerry Bukes out chasing through. Brandon Santos, Hansi Myberg are the cars rolling at the moment. Unfortunately, a couple of retirees, Herman Pavical, Macondo, all going and retiring. But we do have one car jumping in lastminute.com to try and get across the line, and that is Alwyn Prem, who did not start the race, but is going to try and see the checkered flag nonetheless. So that is always fantastic to see the drivers not throwing the towel in. He's going to try and get back up and get out there. And obviously coming back from load shedding, I would think, here in South Africa, that is a thing, unfortunately, where we get told go to bed early. And that was pretty much that. Gideon Reyna keeping the pressure on Bluchnotes. And these two have got to be very careful dancing with one another. It's always a tough time out there to play around with a teammate, not wanting to cause too much of a problem and land up with too much of an impact. Tianas Buerta holding back Paul Venter, who's within 0.4 of a second. Dean Norkier, 1.8 seconds back from him. Henry Platt fighting out with Chris Collison, who has now closed up at a rate of knots here and has got an opportunity to get on by, as Chris Collison of the Singer Racing now looks to try and eye out the inside, switches round. He backs out of the drive though. Will look to see where on earth can he get that little bit of momentum to fight it out, to throw one in for the Stinger Racing, to get himself into 11th position and maximize his positions here. Paul Venter a second down to Dean Norkier. Chris Collison closing up, as we do see Chris Biermester pulling into the pits, and he is now going to be getting that car sorted. Something has gone on with Chris Biermester that has forced him to go into the pits. So not ideal. Hopefully they can get that car out. One that isn't going to be too hard sore, and that is Hansi Myberg and Brandon Santos, who will be looking to make up the drive. Paul Venter having his go at Tianas Buerta on the way through. 4 minutes and 24 seconds to go. It's going to be late on the anchors. Chucks the car in. Paul Venter not getting the drive just as yet. Buerta holding a good charge at current. The Panacity Infiltrate McLaren looking to hold back the logistical nightmare racing car of Paul Venter on the way through. So Paul's going to have another look to see if he has got himself closer enough to the likes of Tianas Buerta. He's not going to try it through turn 1. Dennis will have an opportunity to defend that one, but now it comes down to turn 2, turn 3. On the way through, downhill they go. And so far, late on the anchors, Paul just not having enough. He has got Dino here closing up on him. Chris Collison keeping it close to the wall. He's trying to force Henry Platt to look into the far right-hand mirror and force him to look away from his braking points and look away from those apexes. One thing that is utilized quite a bit is when the guys really lean on the far end just to force you to look that far into your right-hand mirror or left-hand mirror to ensure that you just keep your head slightly off the mark. Paul Fenter now having to switch his focus from just attacking to now defending, as Dean Norkia is going to be coming at him, and Dean's going to try and make short work of Paul Fenter and Tennis Buerta on the way through. And I don't think Paul Fenter at this current point is worrying about his mirrors. He is going to be worrying about going on the attack as he keeps pace to Tennis Buerta. Chris Collison once again coming up nice and close. Will look for the inside line, switches the outside, switches the inside. A little bit too late there to make a change. He tried, but that, I think, fouled up that drive, taking away 1 kilometer, and that was just 1 kilometer he needed. So that quick move left and right doesn't really work, especially on a tight track like this. You need to try and be committed to your line as much as possible, not to foul yourself up. Keep that rhythm the whole way through. That's what Alton Park is all about. Rhythm, rhythm, rhythm as they make their way through. Oh, contact. Chris Collison and Henry Platt landing up with a bit of contact. Oh, Henry having a bit of avoidance there as LaRue gains 2 positions on the run. And that was the 222 and the 9 having a come together right at the last. Let's take a quick look at it. So Chris on the back of Henry Platt, trying his best, did make a bit of rear contact. He slowed the car down, realizing he caused the problem, but LaRue capitalizes, takes 2 positions on the way through. So he has definitely made up that charge. Drive-through penalty going and being issued out to another one of our drivers, unfortunately. And Chris Biermester now in 18th, 19th Ellen Prem, who is now looking to continue their drive. Dino Kier keeping onto the back of Paul Fenter, putting a lot of pressure on the way through. And this has now become our closest fight in the last 1 minute and 18 seconds at this point. Paul Fenter and Tennis Buerta keeping it close. Dino Kier just within striking distance. It takes one mistake from these drivers. That slow exit will be the one to make up the pass as Paul Fenter tries to look around. Tennis Buerta couldn't get the drive, and here comes Dean Norkia, who had just enough room to get the momentum through as they come charging across the line. Dean Norkia very, very close to Paul Fenter, so one little door, one little gap is all that it takes as Dean Norkia runs out a little bit too wide there, nearly going and hurting himself quite a bit into the grass. He was able to lift and just give himself that little bit of breathing room to Paul Fenter, but now is back on the charge with 30 seconds to go. Brandon Kruger, Blicknote, Gideon Rayner, Donaldson, Kerry Fonzel, Tennis Buerta, Paul Fenter, Dean Norkia, Daniel De Villiers, Jason Farmer, Jeffrey LaRue, Henry Platt, Chris Carlson, Ruben Fodderwald, Kurt Bukes, Brandon Santos, Hansi Myberg, and Chris Biermester. Chris Biermester's in the pits, so he will not be out. So it's right up until Hansi Myberg in 17th position as they bottom out these cars, trying to figure out where they can get the drive. We aren't getting reports that Hansi Myberg allowing cars to come through our top runners just to not be caught out in the run, as Dino Kier keeps the pressure on Paul Fenter on the continued drive at this point. But coming up towards the line, Brandon Kruger will take the checkered flag for round 7 with Johan Blicknote in second place. Gideon Rayner, Michael Donaldson, Kerry Van Sale still close to one another. It does look like they're going to finish in that order. Tennis Buerta hanging on for dear life. Paul Fenter hanging on to the back of him. Dino Kier looking to try and go for the attack. Is it going to be enough on their way through? Late on the anchors, Tennis Buerta just keeping ahead of Paul Fenter. Paul getting the drive, and Dino Kier will have to be confident with that 8th place. Daniel De Villiers in 9th, 10th. Jason Farmer, Jeffrey LaRue, Henry Platt breaking on by away from Chris Carlson. Once again, the two of them having a little bit of a love kiss on one another. We'll finish up 12th and 13th. Ruben Fodderwald in 14th, 15th. There's Kurt Bukes, Brandon Santos, and Hansi Myberg in 17th position. Great racing from our drivers. A hard race from our drivers. A couple of retirements, unfortunately, during the course of this race. A couple of drivers jumping in to see what they can do. Ultimately, though, everyone putting in a great effort around a very, very tight Alton Park, as it was not one to go and throw off to one side. Great racing nonetheless. Heartbroken for a couple of drivers as they landed up with a few problems. So the Alton Park now done and dusted, folks. I mean, this is just going to be a wild one for everyone to make their way through. So far, going to be a huge, huge race on towards round 8. Now, once again, reiterating the championship at hand for our Sprint Series, Daniel de Villiers, who had his worst result here tonight, leads out the pack with Dean Norkier in second place and Johan Blicknout in third. Claire Bukes, Henry Platt, Ruben van der Walt, Herman Provical, who didn't finish the race. Chris Collison had some improvement. Brandon Kruger and Christoph Peterson is our top 10 running order. So, with that being said, though, that does bring us to the end of our round 7, and we will be trying to get a couple of guys in to have a chat with them, get their feel on how the race went and where things are heading into the final round of the championship. I mean, this is going to be a wild, wild championship with round 8, the final round, happening next week here at RaceFace.Pro. So, that being said, let me quickly take a look outside our commentary window. Not seeing any drivers as yet, unfortunately. And it looks like we will be missing the likes of Brandon Kruger, Blicknout, and Gideon Renner. Oh, well, then to speak of the devil, and the devil arrives, Blicknout, to come and have a chat to us. Second place for the OG team. Johan Blicknout, welcome to the commentary box. Absolutely grand to have you. And wow, oh wow, what a race that you had out there with your teammates. You're managing to secure that second place, scoring some points for you in the championship. How are you feeling after that?
Hi, Stephen. I'm pretty stoked about this result. I did not expect this going into the race. And practice does pay off, they say.
Definitely a tough race nonetheless, but now you had multons of pressure from the start to the finish of the race, your own teammates laying into you. How were you guys coping with that? Was there a bit of communication amongst you guys? Was it, I'm going to get you? What was going through the minds of all the drivers?
We were sitting hoping to put pressure on Dean, and I hope he left his magic button on like Lewis did. And then after he went off, it was just chilling, and we were having a fun race, pushing each other.
Definitely a good charge through. I gotta say, phenomenal drive on your through. Anything you would like to say to everyone out there? I mean, considering you got second place, anything you want to say to the drivers, to the teams, to the partners here at RaceFace.Pro, and most importantly, to the admin and our incredible petrol heads out there in the virtual grandstand, standing up and cheering you guys on.
First of all, thanks to everyone that showed up tonight. Make it worth showing us the support every weekend or weekday. And thanks to the sponsors, Switch Energy, Inet, and AOC for carrying our team, and for RaceFace making it possible for us to show our talents.
Absolutely great stuff. Well done, and well done on securing that second place for your run. Final race on next week to see if you can hold into that first place of the championship.
Cool. Thanks, Stephen.
That being said, let's bring in our third place, Gideon Renner, to come and have a chat to us. Gideon Renner, welcome to the commentary box. And very few times you and I actually get to talk to one another. The very first time I actually had a one-on-one conversation with you was going back in the early 2020, where you actually told me I'm a little bit too slow. And at that time, you were racing in an Aston Martin. But securing the third place really shows that you've definitely picked up the pace, and you got into a tremendous fight on the way through with that Ferrari 296.
Yeah, I think I need to up my pace a bit more often so that I can speak to you more often. But no, it was very fun getting back into race again. First race of the season, and yeah, I'm on the podium. So it was very fun. Just a bumpy all the way track. But yeah, we kept it clean. Had a nice teammate battle there, and yeah, we got the podium lockout.
It's been a bit of an interesting one. You didn't have the easiest races, nonetheless. Lots of pressure being put back on you by your own teammates, by other competitors. How was it soaking up that pressure, especially around a tricky track like Alton Park?
Yeah, a track like this is very unforgiving, so especially with the warnings. So I was trying to keep it out. I think I was on 3 warnings with 3 laps to go. But yeah, at least didn't get the drive through, kept it in between the lines at the end. And yeah, just keep on giving pressure on Blichloud. But yeah, he was keeping it pretty much well on track as well. So couldn't do much, but yeah, very fun race.
Well, absolutely great stuff to see you going out there and finding out in 3rd place and on your return back after some time. Anything you would like to say to all the amazing partners here at RaceFace.Pro, to all the teams, drivers, everyone out there in the background, and most importantly, I think you'll agree with me on this, the absolute petrol heads out there in the virtual grandstands that lined the circuit?
Yeah, I just want to say I hope I don't mess up anyone's championship here. Since this is my first race, so I don't have a chance of fighting for something. But nevertheless, very fun racing. Great to see all the guys still racing every week, and yeah, just keeping RaceFace alive.
Absolutely great stuff. Gideon, thank you very much, and congratulations on your 3rd place.
Thank you, Stephen.
Great to have a chat to you, old Gideon Reyna. One of the very few people I actually chatted to when I first started. But going and showing off what he can do. Bringing in our 1st place, though, going and stretching his gap in the championship, Brandon Kruger, coming and having a chat to us here on the commentary box. Brandon, how are you feeling in your race? I mean, you managing to lock out that 1st place. It's been a rough season for you, going and sitting in 9th position. You did not start in round 5, 21st in round 6, but a 1st here at Alton Park, which is a difficult circuit.
Yeah, Stephen, it's been a tough sprint season for sure. Yeah, that did not start was due to disconnects. I was plagued with disconnects, and I was worried would it also happen in the main series as well. So just a few jump scares here and there, but yeah, all around I'm relieved and grateful for tonight's position.
Well, it looked like you and your teammates were constantly keeping a bit of pressure on one another. You tried giving everything you got. Dean here falling off the circuit, but there was no lifting off the gas by the looks of it. Was there any concern of your own teammates like Blichloud and Gideon Reyna to come back at you, even Michael Donaldson, who was making up a bit of time, lying in 4th place?
No, not at all. Like from the get-go, I told them if they even slack off, I'll blixen them. But no, we were in it to have a nice, rough race. We wanted to see what each other is made of, and so yeah, I managed to get alongside Blichnoot twice, and obviously I completed the overtake once. I just got lucky because he went early on the brakes. But yeah, I think my move of the night for sure was when I went alongside with Gideon in that long sweeping left-hander where Dean went off. That was probably the sexiest move I've pulled in a while. But yeah, we all around had a lot of fun. In the end, my tires did drop off. I think I'm just using the curves wrong. I really don't know how to race this track. I mean, I only put in an hour yesterday and then an hour today. So just getting used to it. I need to figure out where to put my car so that I don't get all that pressure loss. I think it was like in the low 23s on the left-hand side. So yeah, they were coming back at me, but fortunately I built a gap to stick it out.
Well, with some good racing indeed. Anything you'd like to say to all the partners here at RaceFace.Pro, to all the behind-the-scenes guys that are making it all work in the background, but also to all the drivers, the teams, and most importantly, our petrol heads out there on the virtual grandstands cheering on lap after lap?
Yeah, no, thanks for the partners here at RaceFace. Thanks for Hansi for managing the league. Thanks to you, Stephen, for commentating. It's always a pleasure to hear you. give a feedback. It's also nice to hear you when we're racing and we just hear your voice. And, ooh, there must have been a crash somewhere. We can pick it up in the pitch of your voice. So thanks for that. It's fun. Thanks to our partners at Omnius Gaming, Switch Energy Drink, In-App Apparel, and AOC Gaming Monitors. And yeah, thanks to everyone in the crowd. And thanks to my team for giving me a nice, hard time tonight.
Absolutely great stuff. Brandon Kruger, well done on your win. Go and enjoy the celebrations. And that will definitely jump you a little bit up in the championship for our sprint series here for season 14. Round 7 winner, Brandon Kruger of Omnius Gaming. Absolutely incredible stuff, ladies and gentlemen. And what a race it has been. And considering round 7 has come to a close here at Alton Park, tomorrow we've got round 7 of our RaceFace.Pro GT3 championship. 1 hour and 20 minutes worth of racing, where drivers are going to have to do 2 mandatory pit stops to ensure that they stay ahead of the pack. Who's going to have the knowledge to carry on? What are the tires going to look like? What are the conditions going to look like here at Alton Park? What is going to happen tomorrow? Well, you're going to have to tune in at 8:10 to come and watch all the action. That being said, though, for the final time for our sprint series, for round 7, we'd like to once again say thank you very much to Tristan Herbs, our commentator, who will be saying his last tomorrow night. It will be his last time on air for the likes of our RaceFace.Pro weekly racing. And we would like to show him as much support as possible as a major thank you. And once again, being one of those voices that carried over to go and join the likes of George G. Max, Alan Patterson, Janneman Price, Cameron de Bastos, and now we've got Tristan Herbs as one of those big voices that carry from sim racing. One day when I grow up, I'm going to be as good as them. Till that day, I'll continue being the short guy that can't reach the pedals. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you very much for joining us here tonight. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the like icon as well. Let us know what was your favorite moment of the race. I know there was lots and lots of chatter happening out there on the circuit and out there in the virtual grandstands. So let us know. What's your thoughts? What's happening? Who do you think is going to take the championship? Will Daniel de Villiers pull it from the brink? Will Dean Nokia be able to take that first place? Will Blicknote, out of nowhere, go and take the win? Kurt Bukes, running in 4th place, has an opportunity as well. You'll have to find out come next week. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, like always, have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody.